Over to the case that kind of has captivated all of us, that has really drew us in on a level. We don't really get drawn in on a level like this for such an older child that's missing, but this one really has, in my opinion, stolen a lot of our hearts. This is Sebastian Rogers. He's a 15-year-old autistic boy. He went missing on February 26th, and since then hasn't been found. We're learning a lot of disturbing details about the family, as this case starts dragging on longer and longer and Sebastian isn't found. More and more behind the scenes details naturally start coming up because people feel maybe that might help. And it usually does. We get a better understanding of what the situation is behind the scenes. It gives us a better understanding of what may have happened. And by having those understandings, it may help lead to his whereabouts. His father, Seth Rogers, and I hate having to call him his bio dad. It just, I feel he shouldn't have to be classified as bio dad, right? I feel like he should just be dad. And it's just sad because Sebastian Rogers has a stepfather in his life too named Chris Proudfoot, which at the beginning called him his boy, his boy, his boy. Everybody was basically equating Chris Proudfoot to being this boy's father, even though this boy right here has an amazing and loving biological father that has been in this boy's life and hasn't had a court order or needed a court to tell him how to be a father or what his responsibilities were to this boy. He loves his son a lot. Since February 26, when Katie Proudfoot, this boy's mother, calls her husband, Christopher Proudfoot, to say she cannot find her son at 6 a.m. in the morning, according to those two, they called law enforcement immediately. Now, I would think that immediately would be in the first 10, 15 minutes. That's not the case. Apparently, they didn't bother calling law enforcement until 6:33 in the morning. Their story hasn't really, I shouldn't say their story has never made sense. I think at the beginning, we all believed the story that this boy woke up in the middle of the night. He's autistic. We've learned about autism. We're in true crime, so we get our Amber Alerts or endangered person alerts of, a wandering autistic child that has, ran away, right? Some autistic children have a propensity of running away. And, without us really knowing this young boy's history, I think everybody believed that he just walked out the door and everybody was concerned. And I think everybody at first thought we were going to find him in a pond because, in all fairness, it typically is where a situation like this usually goes, at least from my experience. Not that it's always the experience. It's just that this happens a lot of the time. Apparently, children are attracted to water, as we all know. And some of these autistic children just don't know how to swim. Well, we're learning now that Sebastian knows how to swim very well. So those are eliminated. But we didn't know that at the time. It wasn't really until, I think, we all had this gut feeling that the Proudfoots weren't, the mom just didn't seem emotional enough. I don't know what it was. It was just something was just not right with them, And we couldn't put our finger on it, but we're all sitting there just trying to advocate for this boy. And she also said she was waking him for school, but found out he doesn't go. He is homeschooled? No, he's not homeschooled. Shelby. No, because there's a bus that picks him up, and he goes to. I know the school he goes to. He physically is present at the school, so I don't think that's accurate. I don't know who's saying that, but I can't remember what his school is. I've got it in my maps because it's one of the places I was going to go by and check out while I'm there. Which brings me to another point. The car's not back, and I was supposed to leave yesterday. If I was going to be there for Saturday to help search in these efforts, I was going to have to leave yesterday, which would have gotten me in today and gave me enough time to rest. It's a 12, 13-hour drive. That happening, so I'm probably not going to be out there, but I'm still going to advocate and tell everybody to get out there. There's a mess of social media creators that are really all coming together for the advocacy of this boy right here to help pepper flyers across the community to help search. There's some rumors that law enforcement said they're going to be arresting anybody inside. So law enforcement cordons off areas to search. They cordon off areas to search. You do not want to cross those search lines, those search thresholds. Those are official search areas. So everybody needs to be out of there. Now, I don't think that they would say that they're going to arrest people unless somebody intentionally goes in there, but it's pretty hard to go through a law enforcement perimeter without intentionally going through. So I'd have to say that probably is what they were talking about. But there's a lot of people that are going to be out there searching in multiple areas. So you're just asked, if you do see law enforcement doing their thing, just to stay out of their way, do not get involved, and do not encroach in their space while they're searching out there. I think that really is what is being trying to express. But, people like to make a mountain out of a molehill and blow it up on social media. And I don't want people being fearful to go out there and search, which is really sad to say that social media platforms or creators would actually try to defer people from coming out there and searching, especially when law enforcement is welcoming it. And the family, Sebastian's father, Seth, is welcoming all the help he can get. They're just asking people to be respectful of the official searches going on. And, of course, naturally, everybody would want to do that, right? So with this particular case, I just want to go over just a few different things. Is this for the girls? I can't remember if this is... Yeah, this is for the girls. Let me go. There we go. Every time any case gets some attention, we always have mainstream media is usually the first that start, saying that these cyber sleuths. Mainstream media is a dying breed, and these smaller mom and pop stores. I'm not talking about the CNNs, the Fox News, the Brian Intons, the Nancy Graces, the Vinnie Politins. They're going to be they're going to be working right alongside social media for many years to come. I mean, they're not going anywhere. I'm talking about the localized news organizations, affiliations, your newspapers, your small news. Those are all going. They're going to all be replaced with some form of social media. They're not being able to keep they're shrinking because of how expensive it is to run those types of facilities. We're doing it quicker. We're doing it better. Those things are just going to happen. So as this whole transition goes, and it's going to take it's not going to be like tomorrow or anything. We are going to have mainstream media dogging social media. They're just going to do it. They don't like us. We're pulling a lot of revenue from them. We're pulling a lot of views from them, the views that they were accustomed to. And it's their own doing. It is their own doing. Mainstream media has not been reporting the news the way we need to be hearing it for a really long time. We have a constitutional right of freedom of press here in this country. And when we have our media pandering to our officials, pandering to our law enforcement, pandering to our government, and not giving us the news or creating the news that runs the narrative that the government, the law enforcement, all these people want to do. They're the reason what has given this infusion to social media, because quite frankly, people are tired of being told what to think, right? And it's been a problem. We get in there, we all know mainstream media holds a lot of information from the public that we have a right to know. And they will manipulate that. In a situation like this, if they know a person's name, for example, a suspect in a crime, if law enforcement tells them, and they know they found it from shoe leather work, right? From doing freedom of the press, shoe leather work, they came across it by the proper channels, they didn't get it from from a source or anything, they worked for it. And they want to go to the public. Mainstream media, if law enforcement tells them to hold that back, will hold that back. They will hold information back from the public. How is that freedom of the press? That's the problem we have. And so I'm not going to get on a diatribe of this, but I'm getting really sick and tired of small channels always coming straight about the concerns of internet sleuths, okay? I'm not sure if the mainstream media realizes we are governed under the same constitutional rights that they're governed under, but it's really starting to upset a lot of people because we're here trying to advocate for Sebastian. We're trying to keep the focus on Sebastian, and they're willfully lying to the public about the United Cajun Navy. They did not. They have been trying to back the United Cajun Navy when we know for a fact they sat in a parking lot for 2 days collecting donation and thwarting research and search efforts for this boy. We watched it. I'm telling you, I had people that are unaffiliated with each other from TikTok, from YouTube, and you know what the Cajun Navy said? They said that, they're taking the clicks and views away from him. No, they did not take any clicks and views away from him. These people were raising these alarms because of what they were seeing going on those grounds. It had nothing to do with their clicks. It had nothing to do with their views. It had nothing to do with monetary value. It had to do with doing the right thing because it was the right thing to do. And mainstream media blocks that because they don't want to look bad because they failed to vet them before they touted them across all these mainstream medias. Again, another reason why we don't like it. And instead of saying, you're right, they sold the sizzle, not the steak, and we realized we got ruck roast. No, they doubled down right along with them. And that's why social media is rearing its head here and why people are ditching their cable. Let's be honest. So, Sebastian Rogers, right now, there's a lot of stuff going on. Let me see if I can put this on. I think I'm going to have to put this on a spill. Hold on, just give me a second here. Let me see where my green screens are. Because I want you guys to see this, and I can only show you if it's on a specific green screen. There we go. There we go. This right here, I want to tell you something. Right here, this is a situation that's going to be going on. This is from the Proudfoot's own community. This is community activism and advocation at its absolute best. And I have to tell you, this is breaking my heart that I can't be here, because if anybody knows anything about me, I'm one of the people that schedule these sign waving, spinning on the corner, the bull, like that's my jam. That's where I got my name. Bullhorn Betty. And here I can't even go, and this is going to be amazing activism from this community telling Chris Proudfoot to repent. Like, his own community ain't buying his BS, guys. Ain't buying his BS. They're over it. They're over it. Everybody believes something happened. You know what we learned? Let's go over what we learned over the last few days that's going to probably be highly, highly disturbing for you guys. We found out from Seth that Katie wasn't watching this boy, and something bad happened to him. He was SA'd. At 7, 8 years old by a 13-year-old boy. Christopher Proudfoot thought of him as being absolutely a monster. He kept telling his mother that he's probably going to end up doing the same thing to his daughter, Faith. He does not want this. He did not like this kid. The only person, now we've learned that Sebastian was autistic. We learned that Sebastian obviously has been abused of some sort. There was a CPS call that came into his house. Christopher and Katie had to deal with CPS, and Seth had no earthly idea this was even going on. We learn from Katie, Chris, and Seth that he doesn't have any friends or very limited friends, nobody he hangs out with. And he's pretty much just surrounded by family all the time. He doesn't really go anywhere by himself. He goes as far away as he goes by himself is to the bus stop, to get on the bus, to go to school, and to come home. Every other time, he's with his mom or he's with another family member. So anybody that had any access to him would be family. But when you look at the entire family, the only person that really did not like this kid at all was Christopher Proudfoot. He thought he was a pervert and a pedo. Who says that about a 15-year-old boy? Chris Proudfoot, if you go back to his interviews, I want you to listen to how he talks about Sebastian. I want you to take the niceness and the calmness, and I want you to hear the words he says about Sebastian. That man can't stop victim shaming and victim blaming. Out of every single interview, I want you to go back, and when he's asked specifically, or interjects himself into a question about Sebastian, I want you to listen to the words. I want you to write those words down and read them without his voice. Because he doesn't, you can even tell in his commentary about him. It's hard for him to even say a nice thing about him. I think the nicest thing that I've heard Christopher say about this boy here is that he's really good at chess. That's the only thing I've ever heard Chris Proudfoot ever say nice about this boy. He's the one with the scratches. He's the one with the anonymous timeline. He's the one that is failing to take a polygraph test. Nancy Grace called him out yesterday morning for failing to take a polygraph test. He's got scratches up and down his arms days after this boy disappeared. He's trying to say that it's from the dogs. The dogs are tiny little mini Yorkies that have tiny little paws, and he's trying to say that because they had their nails clipped, they were able to scratch up and down both arms. I don't understand how that doesn't make sense to a person like me. It might make sense to other people. And then you've got this. There's the scratches on both sides of his arms, days after Sebastian disappears. I don't know how that is humanly possible to have that. Now, people are using filters. They're saying they feel like some of those marks are bite marks. Some other people are saying those look like marks from trees and branches scratching you like you were out in the woods. So, there are some, differences in people's opinions on where these scratches came from, but all of them have nothing to do with dog scratches. So, all the theories out there, none of them dog scratches, and not only that, but when you look at this one, especially this one, right? Can you guys see my hand? Hold on, let me find my hand. There we go. That one right here. So I'm going to be, the one right here, I'm going to move out of the way. It's this one right here. That one right there is entirely too wide. The two distinct marks that you can see, the two lines that you can see, are too far wide for a miniature Yorkie. I mean, the Yorkie's little paws are like this big. And there's usually 4, scratch marks, not 2. It's definitely the stuff all he knows where Sebastian is. But now comes back to this. So I was having a conversation with a few friends, so I'm going to have the conversation with you guys too, because I want you guys to kind of enlighten me here. So I'm sitting here and I'm analyzing this case, and I'm going to walk you through my process. So I'm thinking that Katie passed her polygraph test. We have to look at that. That is the one person, at the time of Nancy Grace's interview with the Proudfoots, the only person that had a polygraph test was Katie Proudfoot. Seth Rogers hadn't had a polygraph, and even though this man right here touted for days on all social media platforms that all 3 had polygraph tests, and all 3 passed their polygraph test, we find out only one person actually took their polygraph test, and we don't know if they passed, but everybody's saying that they did, okay? She's saying she did, Chris is saying she did, law enforcement would never tell us one way or another, unless it would help them some way, right? So we learned that he didn't have one. Nancy Grace offered to give him a polygraph test. We just recently found out he declined the polygraph test, and then he posted another post saying his polygraph test is now officially scheduled. Until he takes it, I'm not going to believe it. That's just going to be my stance on his polygraph test and everything like that. Until he takes it, I don't know. Did you see the mom and daughter on looking at him? Very interesting. Did you see the mom and daughter on live last night looking for him? Very interesting. No, I did not. I think he did it when his mom. That brings me back to the thing. Okay, so let me get back to the polygraph test. So the problem is for me with the polygraph test is we've got Chris Proudfoot and Katie Proudfoot, which are military trained. They both served our Navy. I don't know what type of training they had. I don't know if they had counter-terrorism training. And with the counter-terrorism training, basically they train you not to even under torturous situations, not to disclose, American secrets and stuff like that. So and some of the trainings that they have actually teach you how to basically beat a polygraph test, but. And lacking that information, lacking the fact that we don't know what type of training she has. We have to eliminate that. We can't assume she's had that type of training, okay? We can't assume it. So if she has not had that type of training and she passed her polygraph test, we have to believe she passed her polygraph test. So that means she would not have any knowledge of this. This guy here is also military trained. We also learned he was on the phone with her for 3 hours. How do we know he wasn't on the phone monitoring her? So he knew when she was going to bed. Remember, he did not like her son. He knew that this was not going to end well because he knew Seth was going to take Sebastian, and God knows what Sebastian would have eventually told Seth about what was going on, in that home. We don't know. We still don't know what was going on in that home. We don't know what type of abuses he underwent in that home at the hands of Chris. We don't know. Was it verbal? Was it physical? Was it more? We don't know. So he's military trained, and I'm sorry, a military trained person, in my opinion, knows how to sneak in their own damn house undetected. I'm sorry. You asked me to sneak in this house undetected? I bet you I know 15 ways from Sunday on how to sneak in this house undetected. So that would explain right there how Katie Proudfoot would have been able to beat her polygraph. Now, the other thing is that he walked out the door. It's hard for me to believe the boy walked out the door with no scent. And I know about the scent dogs, and I know what they're going to tell us about this, that, and the other, and the raining and stuff like that, but I've monitored scent dogs for a really long time, and while I'm not an expert in scent dogs, I don't train scent dogs, I know people that do. And a lot of the stuff it's shifting. It's shifting. Like the winds shift, the scent shifts, the environmental things shift, and while water does wash away some of that scent, the issue here is it wasn't the dogs going on different scents and in opposite directions and stuff like that. They didn't pick up a scent at all, from my understanding. And if that's the case, that's ultra bizarre when you're talking about a kid walking out of the house barefoot. I mean, this would have been a perfect scenario, like a perfect storm of absolutely no scent at all, but the rain was so much that it cleared everything out. I mean, it is possible, but I just don't believe no scent at all, not even going in the wrong direction, taking the dog to the wrong place because it moved, nothing. But either way with that. And then you've got them leaving. So you got him scratches, you got mom and dad leaving, we find out that he was SA, they didn't even get him treatment, the autistic boy treatment for something that happened to him when he was 7 years or 8 years old until recently. That's what we're hearing, that he just now started getting treatment or help for that trauma. It's really starting to paint a picture about Katie and Chris's priorities. She won't look at people in these interviews. I even think, even if she passed her polygraph test, they were talking about whether she had any involvement in anything, and I don't know if she has knowledge or she now has knowledge. But we're now having a really good picture of who Chris Proudfoot is, and quite frankly, he probably shouldn't be around children, not even his own. He's not